Lesson 3, the excretory system. The primary functions of the excretory system are to remove wastes, to remove foreign substances and excess substances from the blood, the temporary collection and the storage of these substances, the elimination of these substances from the body, and regulate the level of fluid in our bodies. The excretory system is really made up of 4 different body systems because they're different they're differing in the kind of waste they're removing. The urinary system is what the main focus is going to be on, and that removes liquid waste. Technically, it is the waste from the cells. The integumentary system, which we already studied, remember, removes excess salt and water through sweating. The digestive system, which we just finished, removes undigested food called, remember, feces. And the respiratory system, which we haven't studied yet, removes carbon dioxide and water. So the functions of the excretory system, make sure you know which system does what. The digestive system, removing undigested solids from the food that you eat, which is called feces. That's the kind of waste, and it comes from non-digestible food. The excretory system, which is what we're going to be talking about, it's what gets rid of your cell waste. After your cells do all their jobs and so forth, they have leftover waste. And that waste then is transported to the kidneys, and then it's going to be filtered, and it's going to collect, and then it's going to be removed in a liquid form called urine from our bodies. The excretory system, another system part of it, is the respiratory system. And that's when you exhale. You not only are removing carbon dioxide out of your body, but there's also water vapor in your exhaling. So you're getting rid of that as well. And we've already studied the integumentary system, which in our skin we have sweat glands, and they excrete some of the same stuff that's in urine because it's coming from the cells. And that's excess salt, sodium chloride, and water. And also it has urea in it. All right, the organs of the urinary system. There are 4 primary organs, and you'll need to know what each one of these does. There's the kidneys. We have 2 of them. There's ureters or ureters, which we have 2 of them. There's 1 bladder, sometimes referred to as the urinary bladder, and there's 1 urethra. The organs of the urinary system, they work together to get the cell waste out of the blood, filtered out, to transport it, to temporarily store it, and then to excrete it from the body. The bean-shaped organ that filters or removes the waste is called the kidney. You have 2 kidneys, 1 on each side of your body. They're near the back, just under your rib cage, so in the back wall, if you feel back there. Their job is filters, and they filter or purify your blood. So your blood, as it's going around, it is collecting not only carbon dioxide and giving up oxygen, but it's collecting waste from the cells. And it's also carrying the nutrients, by the way. So it's carrying these wastes back to the kidneys where they need to be filtered. And then the kidneys mix it with water and forms a liquid that's called urine. The blood that needs to be filtered is entering the kidney by way of what we call the renal artery. Anything having to do with kidneys is going to be renal. Renal failure would be the kidneys where they fail to work. So the renal artery is taking the blood into, the renal vein is taking the purified blood out. The actual filtering unit inside the kidney, and there's a million of these in a kidney, is called a nephron or nephron. A nephron has, and we're going to study this a little bit more. If you look at the diagram on the left, that's illustrating 1 nephron. And it has a bunch of capillaries and small tubes. And these are actually where the blood is filtered. And it takes place really in two different filtering processes. Your entire blood actually goes through your body and is recycled over and over again because of your heart pumping. And your blood is being filtered approximately 60 times each day. So your entire blood supply is going continuously through your kidneys, back up to your heart and to your kidneys. And as I said, it's in a couple different filtrations. During the first filtration, the water, the sugar, the salt, waste, they pass from the capillaries into these small tubes in what we call the Bowman's capsule. In the second filtration, the water and nutrients pass from the tubes back into the blood. So there's a lot of water taken out, and then that water is going to be put back into the blood during the second filtration, and it's going to keep then the waste out. And then the urine is going to travel through these collecting ducts to the ureter or ureter.
Kidneys are bean-shaped paired organs that regulate water and electrolyte balance in terrestrial vertebrates. They also remove nitrogenous wastes, usually in the form of urea, from the blood and eliminate them in the urine. The renal artery and renal vein are large blood vessels that carry blood to and from each kidney. The ureter is a long tube that transports the urine formed in the kidney to the bladder for storage prior to excretion. The outer region of the kidney is called the cortex, and the inner region is called the medulla. The nephron is a basic functional unit of the kidney. Nephrons perform the work required to maintain water and electrolyte balance. Most nephrons are located in the cortex, but some extend into the medulla. Each nephron is made up of 5 regions, each performing a different function. 1. Urine formation begins in the renal corpuscle, which filters the blood. 2. The proximal tubule actively reabsorbs electrolytes, nutrients, and water. 2/3 of the electrolytes and water filtered from the blood is returned to the blood through the proximal tubule. 3. The loop of Henle creates a steep osmotic gradient by reabsorbing water and electrolytes differentially along its U-shaped length. This gradient allows the kidney to concentrate urine. A network of blood vessels supplies the loop of Henle. The vessels return water and electrolytes to the blood without disrupting the osmotic gradient. 4. The distal tubule, like some other regions of the nephron, reabsorbs electrolytes and water, but its activity depends on the body's state of hydration and is under hormonal control. 5. Urine formation ends in the collecting duct, where more water may be reabsorbed. The collecting duct is also under hormonal control. We'll use this simplified and flattened image of a nephron to describe the functions of each of its 5 regions. The first stage of urine formation begins in the renal corpuscle with the filtration of blood. Blood entering the renal corpuscle flows into a cluster of capillaries called the glomerulus. The structure around the glomerulus is called Bowman's capsule. The glomerular capillaries have pores and are surrounded by cells with slits. These features allow molecules and ions to be filtered from the blood based on their size. The high pressure inside the capillaries pushes water and small solutes out of the pores and slits and into the surrounding capsule, where the pressure is lower. Large components, such as proteins and cells, cannot fit through the pores and slits and remain in the blood, never entering the nephron. The resulting filtrate exits the renal corpuscle. The filtrate formed in the renal corpuscle contains waste products as well as valuable nutrients, electrolytes, and water. This filtrate enters the proximal tubule, where many of the valuable substances are reabsorbed. The epithelium of the proximal tubule has microvilli.
It gets a little more technical there, so we will leave off with that. The main components of urine. There's urea, which also is in sweat, uric acid, sodium chloride, which is salt, which is also in sweat, and then, which is also in sweat, is water. Actually, urine is 95% water. When you go to the doctor, one of the things they do for physical is they have you pee in a cup. And you may wonder, why do they have you do that? Well, there's a lot they can tell. First of all, they look at the color, because the color is going to indicate some certain things about your health. If it is a dark brown, and by the way, these charts right here, you don't need to get down for or write down for a quiz or a test. This is just for some information. If it's dark brown, but it's clear, then it indicates that you could have cirrhosis of the liver, or you could have acute viral hepatitis. If it has a greenish color, then that would indicate that you might have jaundice. If it's milky, which is a common thing that they might find, that would be infection, and that would be the pus from the infection that's in your urine. If it's pink, red, or lighter brown, it could be an infection. It could be hemorrhaging, which is bleeding in your urinary system. By the way, it also can be what you eat. If you eat beets, that can change the color of your urine. And so do blackberries. A dark yellow or orange could be from vitamins that you are taking. There's medications, and vitamins can actually change the color and the smell of your urine. Now, another thing that they do is they will test for certain components. And one common test is glucose. Remember, one of the functions of the excretory system, mainly the kidneys, is to get rid of excess substances in the blood. So if there's excess sugar, there's too much sugar in your blood, it's going to show up in your urine. And that would indicate diabetes. If there's proteins in your urine, then that would indicate kidney disease or heart disease. If there's acetone, that would be another indication of diabetes, but also of starvation. If there are amino acid crystals, that's severe liver disease. And if there's uric acid crystals, that indicates that you have gout. So that urinalysis is very important that the doctor gets when you go get your physical. Now, the ureters. When the urine is collecting in that renal pelvis part of the kidney, then it's going to be taken through tubes, because you have two kidneys, so you have two of these tubes, that go to where it's going to be temporarily stored, which is the bladder. And that tube is called a ureter or a ureter. So we have two of them, one going from your right kidney and one going from your left kidney, and they empty into the bladder. And their job is just to carry the urine from the kidneys to the bladder. The urinary bladder is actually a muscular bag, so it expands. And that muscular bag is for storing urine. And you know why a pregnant lady has to go to the bathroom a lot? Especially the more, what do you call it, into a pregnancy, more, I guess, like the third term and so forth, when they're getting closer to a delivery date and the baby is bigger inside. That's because the baby is actually resting on top of the bladder so that the bladder cannot expand like it normally does. So they have to go to the bathroom a lot. Because without the baby in there, then the bladder, which is a muscular bag, can expand. Now, the urethra is how the urine is going to be permanently eliminated from your body. And that's when you urinate, when you pee. So it is the tube that leads from the bladder to the outside of the body. And it's called a urethra, and it contains sphincters, two internal and external sphincters. And those sphincters then are controlling the urine when they leave. It's not like, okay, as soon as the urine is made, it goes to the urinary bladder and you have no control and it just starts coming out whenever it's made. No, you have sphincters that control that. Now let's look at a few disorders and diseases of the urinary system. This chart is in your book, and you do need to know this one for your test or quiz. And these are the diseases you need to know, and then a couple more that I might talk about. Kidney disease is when the nephrons are damaged. So therefore, they're not going to be able to filter, or they can't filter as well as they did. So they're not going to get as much blood filtered during the day. So it can advance. You can have, slight kidney disease, and then it can get worse and worse, of course, to where the kidneys actually fail. And the possible causes could be diabetes, could be high blood pressure, poisons, trauma, all different kinds of things that can cause kidney disease. Now, one of the most common reasons why people go to the doctor other than respiratory infections is a urinary tract infection. They simply refer to it as a UT infection, urinary tract. And remember, an infection is when bacteria gets in there and it is trying to battle your good cells, and there's a battle that goes on, and that causes inflammation. That's that redness, the soreness. So infections usually occur in the bladder or urethra, but the infections can also occur in the kidneys and the ureters. Symptoms include burning during urination, small and frequent urination, and also blood in the urine. And it's bacteria that causes that. Kidney stones, which I've never had, hope I don't. I've heard they are very, very, very painful. Kidney stones, they're solid substances that form in the kidney like a rock. Now, unfortunately, they're not usually nice little smooth rocks. It says the most common type is made of calcium. Stones that pass through the urinary system can be very painful. I had one student many years ago that told he suffered from kidney stones a lot. And he said it was like peeing razor blades. That's how much it hurt for him to pass these stones. And the possible causes, calcium buildup in the kidney. And then bladder control problems, and that's where the sphincters might not be working properly. The bladder releases urine involuntarily, and it occurs most often in women other than men. It's commonly referred to as incontinence. And the possible causes could be a UT infection, muscle weakness of those sphincter muscles, and in men it could be because of a prostate enlargement. Now, when the kidneys get diseased or for some reason they quit functioning, that is called kidney failure. And what it basically means is the kidneys cannot form urine, so they fail to form urine. And of course, this is very serious. And the person would have to be on dialysis and eventually have to be on a transplant list. Here's a picture showing you some of the kidney stones inside a kidney. And there's also what is called a floating kidney, and this usually is because of a severe injury or blow to the lower back. It also can occur in a person that is severely overweight, and then they reduce a lot of their weight. But what it is, it's a kidney that has been jarred from its usual location, because there's actually little mesenteries, little, what do you call it? They're little connective tissues that kind of tack your kidneys in place, and they can be ripped. And if you look on the x-ray on the left and you look at the right kidney there, you can see where it's positioned. And then look at the B, the one on the right, and see how that kidney has dropped and how it's a lot lower. So that's called a floating kidney. And then you can look there at the technical science name for it. And we are always looking at how do these systems help maintain homeostasis inside of us. The excretory system helps maintain homeostasis by filtering waste from the blood and removing waste from the digestive system. Imagine if, like the garbage in your house, the waste, that you could never get rid of it, that it just kept piling up and piling up and piling up. Well, it eventually would make conditions unlivable. And that's true in your body. It actually would cause death. And the excretory system also interacts with the hypothalamus of the nervous system to help maintain homeostasis. So all of these systems that we're studying all work together to keep that balance inside of our body, that homeostasis.